Alright, I wanted to demonstrate a few of the new tools I've worked on over the past few days. I've already got the rough splint here drawn on the teeth, on the dentition, and we have a single implant placed here in the posterior. And you'll notice that um, there aren't many pieces of hardware associated with this implant. So I'm assuming that you may have an implant that you've modeled, but you might not have pre-fabricated, pre-designed bushing or guide cylinder. So first we'll hide this and unhide the occlusal plane. And under implant tools, I want to show you two new functions, guide cylinder and inner cylinder. We'll just use the defaults here. So the first variable I want to draw your attention to is this right here, and this should be called depth almost, and it's the distance from the apex of the implant to the top of the guide cylinder. Bring that up. See, the cylinder moves appropriately. The thickness is the additional width from the implant's diameter. So my add-on finds out the diameter of this implant and adds the thickness to it. Length actually does not work properly right now. Use plane will trim off the bottom of this cylinder with the occlusal plane, and then cutout plane is what we might use to, if this is our splint, we might want our splint to dip down here in scenarios where there's limited clearance for our tools. So what we'll do is we'll make a cutout plane. It's kind of the best word I could think of for it, which is the same diameter as this guide cylinder. What we can do is put this in place here. So I'm using the local transform. That's why these are always aligned with the object I've selected. I'll show you how we can use this later. In the meantime, the other function is inner cylinder, which defaults to a 1mm cylinder, just like your orientation. But if you make the cylinder diameter whatever you want, and you can also add channels down the side, and this percentage controls the percentage of the diameter that the channels extend. So if we look here, let me be dramatic. Okay. So that is that function. So now we'll unhide the splint again. Okay, so the first I'll show you is cutouts. And so that simply cuts that plane out of the guide. Now it does leave this kind of rough edge here, so what you'll want to do before you do anything else is find the cutouts modifier, and you want to make sure everything else is all set. Apply. Okay, you can come into sculpt mode. We're already using the smooth brush, but you would select smooth brush, Shift F to kind of weaken it, and F to control your size. You just kind of gently smooth off these edges. You don't want to do it too much because you'll intersect your teeth, so make sure that's checked. And you can smooth that more, just however much time you want to mess with it. Fine. So let's say we didn't have this cut out here. Say our guide cylinder was actually up here a little bit. We could add the guide, which will Boolean, so it'll take a few seconds. We'll Boolean that cylinder into our guide. And then, as you might guess, subtract holes. We'll subtract the hole out. So if you had left your guide cylinder on the same plane as your cutout plane, there would be no need to use the add guides button. You could just go straight to subtract holes. But there it is. So hopefully that'll improve any problems anyone's having with clearance issues.